The phenomenon of unidentified anomalous phenomena, more commonly referred to in public discourse as UFOs, has gradually shifted from fringe speculation into a domain of serious intelligence inquiry. The evolution of UAP investigation, particularly within the US Department of Defense, has uncovered a complex web of surveillance, compartmentalized reporting, and anomalous aerospace events that defy known human capabilities. Over the past 2 decades, military pilots, sensor operators, and intelligence analysts have documented aerial objects performing extreme maneuvers, such as instantaneous acceleration, hypersonic speeds without sonic booms, transmedium movement between air and water, and hovering without visible propulsion. These behaviors were initially catalogued within the now declassified Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program and later by its successors, including the US Navy's UAP Task Force and the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. Observations of these craft often come from some of the most advanced surveillance equipment in existence, such as the AN/ASQ-239 electronic warfare suite on F-35 fighter jets, or classified naval sensor arrays operating across global hotspots. These objects display coherent flight paths, technological signatures, and intelligent responsiveness that suggest they are not simply radar artifacts or conventional aircraft. More critically, a pattern emerges from within human intelligence reports that suggests that certain UAP encounters may represent technologies of unknown origin and possibly the operations of non-human intelligences. Interviews with military insiders, supported by whistleblower protections, have revealed long-running programs within the Department of Defense and private contractors, focused on the reverse engineering of recovered non-terrestrial materials. These operations are often designated with Special Access Program or Unacknowledged Special Access Program status, effectively isolating them from congressional oversight. The contents of these programs reportedly include biological specimens not of known Earth origin, materials with isotopic ratios impossible under terrestrial formation, and craft components displaying nano-layered metamaterials capable of frequency manipulation. Defense Human Intelligence reports detailed the strict compartmentalization of these findings, with former personnel under legal and extra-legal pressure to remain silent. Despite this, a growing chorus of former insiders, some of whom have testified in classified briefings to Senate and House Intelligence Committees, insist that the US government possesses both recovered vehicles and biological evidence suggesting direct contact with NHI-related materials. This complex and hidden infrastructure of secrecy has led to bureaucratic inconsistencies, with Pentagon spokespeople publicly denying what internal documentation and whistleblower briefings have long implied. Beyond the observable characteristics of UAPs, a deeper layer of signals intelligence and electro-optical surveillance reveals a pattern of recurring behaviors and locations. Certain military installations, particularly those involved in nuclear command and control, long-range radar arrays and weapons testing, have become hotspots for these anomalous interactions. In multiple cases, UAPs have reportedly disabled or interfered with nuclear launch systems, a pattern going back to incidents at Malmstrom Air Force Base in the 1960s and continuing into more recent decades. Signals collected by the National Reconnaissance Office and the National Security Agency suggest emissions in exotic bandwidths not typically used by Earth-originating communications systems. Additionally, telemetry data from classified satellites has captured objects executing high-G maneuvers and near-instantaneous directional changes at altitudes above 80,000 feet. These capabilities far exceed any currently disclosed aerospace technology and raise the specter of either an adversarial breakthrough or interaction with a non-human intelligence operating under unknown principles of physics. Interagency communications between the Department of Defense, the Department of Energy and intelligence community elements reveal internal schisms regarding the control, disclosure and utilization of this knowledge. Congressional inquiries, especially those spearheaded by the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence and the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, have unearthed contradictions between publicly available reports and classified testimony. One of the core revelations centers on the presence of legacy programs that predate even the Cold War, potentially dating back to the late 1940s and the immediate post-Roswell era. These programs, hidden behind layers of shell corporations and black budgets, have long studied material that defies replication using known Earth-based scientific methods. Testimony given under oath by defense contractors and former program personnel has alleged the recovery of intact vehicles of non-terrestrial origin, which are being held in remote, secure facilities for analysis and engineering exploitation. The implications of disclosure are vast, not merely from a defense or technological standpoint, but also in terms of societal, religious, and geopolitical impact. There is increasing concern among policymakers that an uncoordinated or accidental leak, such as photographic evidence, intercepted UAP telemetry, or whistleblower documentation, could force public acknowledgement before institutions are prepared to address the fallout. Some within the intelligence community advocate for a phased disclosure strategy, preparing the public through gradual release of information about unexplained aerial events, while others argue that full transparency is necessary for democratic accountability. Documents uncovered through Freedom of Information Act requests, along with congressional pressure, are beginning to force open a decades-long vault of secrecy that challenges humanity's understanding of its place in the cosmos. The consistent multi-domain presence of UAPs across air, sea, space, and the electromagnetic spectrum demands a re-evaluation not only of national security but of the fundamental assumptions we hold about the nature of intelligence itself. The emerging consensus among investigators is not whether we're being observed, but why, and by whom. There are moments when a pilot, flying tens of thousands of feet above the Earth, encounters something that should not exist. An object with no wings, no visible propulsion, and no adherence to the aerodynamic laws known to govern flight. It hovers motionless, then suddenly darts away at speeds that no known machine can achieve without disintegration. The pilot radios command. The radar confirms it, but the moment is ephemeral. These encounters are not isolated. They repeat across decades, over oceans and deserts, from the icy expanses of the Arctic to the skies over nuclear installations. What began as isolated reports in the 1940s has over time evolved into a mosaic of data points, sensor readouts, radar anomalies, visual confirmations, telemetry signals, pointing to something unprecedented in human history. The US government has long tracked these phenomena under a variety of bureaucratic guises. The now defunct Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, buried within the Pentagon's budget, was one such effort. In its wake came the US Navy's UAP Task Force and later the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. These were not speculative enterprises. They were funded by intelligence appropriations and led by senior officials, often in collaboration with defense contractors and aerospace engineers. Their mandate was clear catalog, analyze, and assess phenomena that did not behave like any known terrestrial vehicle. These objects defied categorization. Some would fly at hypersonic speeds without generating sonic booms. Others maneuvered with instantaneous changes in direction that would flatten a human occupant into red mist. Certain craft demonstrated what experts called transmedium travel, seamlessly moving from air to water to space without slowing down, often while emitting no detectable propulsion or heat signature. The implications are staggering. These were not simply unknown craft, they represented unknown physics. What remained hidden until recently was the scale and seriousness with which elements inside the intelligence community approached these events. For decades, a clandestine network of analysts, defense contractors, and military officers worked within compartmented special access programs and even deeper, unacknowledged special access programs. Their mission was not only to observe, but to recover, conceal, and attempt to exploit these technologies. And, if reports are accurate, to study entities, biological and otherwise, that accompany them. Within the opaque architecture of the US intelligence and defense complex, few topics are more tightly controlled than the matter of unidentified anomalous phenomena. While the public was offered decades of denial, misdirection, and ridicule, internally, the reality was starkly different. Human intelligence sources, former program managers, aerospace engineers, and military officers describe an enduring secrecy reinforced by non-disclosure agreements, security clearances, and cultural intimidation. These individuals tell a story of legacy programs that extend back to the aftermath of the Second World War, triggered in part by the 1947 Roswell incident and accelerated during the Cold War's arms race. Over time, what began as speculative interest in flying saucers matured into systematic recovery operations. Debris retrieval missions were often coordinated under the guise of crash investigations or weather balloon recovery. Yet in select cases, what was recovered was not debris, but intact craft. Reports from those within these SAPs detail advanced material sciences, nano-layered metamaterials capable of frequency manipulation, hull fragments with isotopic ratios that do not occur naturally on Earth, and biological remnants that do not conform to known DNA structures. One former intelligence officer, protected under federal whistleblower statutes, has testified in closed congressional hearings that the United States possesses multiple intact vehicles of non-human origin. These craft, he asserts, are held within secure contractor facilities, inaccessible to most in the traditional chain of military command. Supporting this are other whistleblower accounts that suggest reverse engineering programs have been ongoing for decades, with variable success hampered not only by the technical complexity of the materials, but by inter-agency turf wars and ethical paralysis over how to proceed. These operations, often insulated from oversight, have flourished in legal and epistemological twilight. What exists within these programs is not just a new technology, it is a challenge to the fundamental assumptions of our civilization about physics, biology, and even consciousness. The observable behavior of these craft is only part of the story. Behind the veil of visual and radar data lies a deeper layer: electromagnetic signals, telemetry readings, and other forms of signals intelligence, or SIGINT, that suggest purposeful, even communicative behavior. In numerous incidents, UAPs have been tracked emitting energy signatures in exotic frequencies that do not correspond to civilian, military, or industrial sources. These signals, often brief and encrypted in unknown formats, have been captured by surveillance platforms operated by the National Reconnaissance Office, the NSA, and even foreign intelligence allies. More troubling are the strategic implications of their behaviors. UAPs have repeatedly appeared near sensitive military sites, particularly nuclear weapons facilities. In some cases, these objects reportedly disabled missile systems or initiated system-wide diagnostics remotely. One incident involved a missile silo at Malmstrom Air Force Base, where multiple nuclear warheads were rendered inert while a glowing object hovered silently above. These events are not anecdotal. They are documented in classified cables and confirmed by multiple independent witnesses, including Air Force personnel and radar operators. The geopolitical ramifications are immense if these objects are under intelligent control and if their operators possess the ability to manipulate our nuclear arsenals at will. The balance of power is not just disrupted, it is rendered obsolete. Who or what exerts such control remains unknown, but the recurring nature of these interactions suggests an intelligence that is aware of our capabilities, monitors our most dangerous technologies, and possesses the means to neutralize them. Within the walls of the Pentagon and adjacent institutions, an internal conflict brews. For decades, secrecy has been maintained through bureaucratic obfuscation, compartmentalization, and denial. When questioned, public affairs officers routinely defer to lines crafted to preserve ambiguity. The matter is under investigation or no verifiable evidence has been found. Yet within congressional briefings, especially those conducted under secure conditions by the Senate Intelligence and Armed Services Committees, the story told is far more disturbing. There is now documentary evidence that the Department of Defense and intelligence community have operated outside the scope of congressional knowledge and funding. These black programs, funded through opaque budgets, often laundered through defense contractors, have achieved a level of autonomy that effectively places them beyond democratic accountability. Testimony from former insiders reveals that some officials in these programs view the public and even elected officials as unprepared for the truth, citing potential economic destabilization, religious upheaval, and geopolitical chaos. Others argue that this secrecy is a crime against humanity, a suppression of knowledge that belongs to all. The resulting schism is no longer theoretical. In recent years, congressional representatives have openly confronted the Pentagon about these inconsistencies. The 2023 and 2024 hearings on UAPs marked a seismic shift, with lawmakers demanding the release of materials, logs, and testimonies long kept in darkness. Yet the resistance remains strong. Declassification is slow, redacted, and often strategically confusing. What emerges is a mosaic of contradiction, an official posture of ignorance shadowed by an unofficial history of deep and clandestine engagement. Perhaps the most profound and unsettling aspect of unidentified anomalous phenomena is the strong indication that many of these objects are not only vehicles but manifestations of a form of intelligence entirely outside human experience. Unlike traditional aerospace technology, which is mechanical and engineered, many UAPs exhibit characteristics suggestive of sentient control and autonomous decision-making. The patterns of behavior, maneuvering with precision, reacting instantly to pursuit or threat, and communicating via electromagnetic pulses imply a level of cognition and purpose. Witness testimonies and internal reports refer to non-human intelligence in a variety of contexts. Some accounts describe biological entities associated with the phenomena, while others suggest hybrid or synthetic intelligences. These NHIs do not conform to any known terrestrial biology or artificial intelligence paradigms. Several whistleblowers and insiders allege encounters with beings whose appearance defies description, whose motives remain inscrutable, and whose technologies surpass humanity's most advanced understanding by orders of magnitude. The question arises, are these intelligences extraterrestrial, interdimensional, or perhaps something yet more unfathomable? Official agencies have neither confirmed nor denied these possibilities, adhering instead to an epistemological cautiousness born of uncertainty and the limitations of current scientific methods. However, signals intelligence and analysis of recovered materials suggest a sophisticated awareness of humanity's technological development and strategic posture. The entities appear to monitor, influence, and sometimes intervene in human affairs. Actions that some interpret as benign observation, others as warnings, and still others as active manipulation. This has profound implications for science, philosophy, and religion. The presence of NHIs challenges humanity's self-conception as the apex of intelligence and civilization. It demands a re-evaluation of physics, biology, and the nature of consciousness itself. Researchers inside classified programs work tirelessly to decode the technologies and communication methods employed by these intelligences. But progress is slow and fraught with obstacles, technical, bureaucratic, and ethical. Over the past several decades, classified programs within the Department of Defense and select defense contractors have pursued the reverse engineering of recovered anomalous technologies. These initiatives aim not only to replicate propulsion and stealth capabilities, but also to understand the underlying principles that govern these materials and mechanisms. Unlike conventional aerospace projects, which rely on combustion, aerodynamics, and conventional energy sources, the recovered artifacts suggest mastery over gravity manipulation, inertia reduction, and quantum-level material structuring. Reverse engineering these technologies is extraordinarily difficult. The materials recovered, often fragments of hulls or components, display nanoscale architectures that shift properties dynamically, absorbing electromagnetic energy and altering structural integrity on command. Some materials seem to phase between solid and non-solid states, defying classical material science. Efforts to synthesize these materials have met with limited success, hindered by the absence of comprehensive data and the complexity of the physical phenomena involved. Furthermore, the operational principles behind these craft suggest an integration of biological and technological elements, blurring the lines between machine and living organism. Reports from insiders describe bioneural interfaces, systems that operate through modulation of electromagnetic fields in a manner analogous to neural networks. This synthesis could account for the extreme maneuverability and adaptability observed in flight. Yet beyond the scientific challenges lie political and ethical dilemmas. Reverse engineering efforts have been mired in interagency rivalries, secrecy protocols, and debates over the potential risks and benefits of disclosure. There is concern that sharing such technology prematurely could trigger destabilization in global power structures or provoke unintended consequences. Within the intelligence community, some argue that humanity is not yet ready for such knowledge, while others contend that withholding information amounts to a profound disservice to global security and scientific progress. These tensions remain unresolved. The quest to unlock the secrets of these phenomena continues in shadowed labs and secure facilities, a quest that might redefine the very future of human civilization. The presence of unidentified anomalous phenomena and their associated technologies has had profound repercussions on international security dynamics and geopolitical strategies. Since the earliest credible encounters were recorded, military and intelligence agencies around the world have grappled with understanding whether these phenomena represent a direct threat, an opportunity, or something more ambiguous. The United States, Russia, China and other major powers have each developed parallel but secretive programs to investigate and potentially exploit the advanced technologies believed to be linked to these craft. The strategic ambiguity surrounding these objects complicates decision-making at the highest levels of government. On the one hand, the unparalleled capabilities observed, instantaneous acceleration, cloaking, electronic warfare, could drastically shift military balances if understood or replicated. On the other, the origins of these phenomena remain unknown, raising concerns over potential hidden agendas by these non-human intelligences. Are they monitoring humanity's military capabilities? Do they intervene to prevent catastrophic conflict, or are they gathering data for a purpose yet unrevealed? Within the US defense and intelligence apparatus, these uncertainties have generated intense debate. Some factions advocate aggressive attempts to weaponize or harness the technologies, while others counsel caution and diplomacy, fearing that reckless moves might provoke hostile responses or destabilize global peace. The presence of similar programs abroad only heightens the risk of inadvertent confrontation or arms races centered on the unknown. Moreover, classified exchanges and back-channel communications between countries hint at tentative cooperation and information sharing, but deep mistrust persists. The very secrecy surrounding these phenomena undermines transparency and public accountability, often fueling speculation, conspiracy theories, and internal political struggles. Nonetheless, these programs continue to operate, funded by shadow budgets and cloaked in layers of compartmentalization. The challenge remains to develop coherent policies that balance security, scientific advancement, and ethical responsibility. The geopolitical landscape is evolving in ways that few governments are prepared to address openly, making these issues some of the most critical and complex of the 21st century. The gradual unveiling of information about unidentified anomalous phenomena to the public has had a transformative effect on culture, media, and collective consciousness. Once relegated to the realm of fringe conspiracy and science fiction, these topics have entered mainstream discourse through official acknowledgements, congressional hearings, and high-profile disclosures. This shift has altered how societies perceive the universe and humanity's place within it. Public reaction has been mixed and multifaceted. For many, the confirmation of non-human intelligence and advanced technologies challenges fundamental beliefs about reality, sparking excitement, curiosity, and hope for scientific breakthroughs and expanded horizons. Documentaries, books, films, and art now explore themes of contact, coexistence, and the potential for a new era of understanding. Academic institutions have begun to develop interdisciplinary studies focused on these phenomena, blending physics, anthropology, psychology, and philosophy. Conversely, the revelations have also engendered fear, skepticism, and social disruption. The realization that governments withheld information for decades has fueled distrust and conspiracy theories, complicating efforts at rational dialogue. Some religious groups struggle to reconcile traditional doctrines with the implications of extraterrestrial or non-human intelligences, leading to theological debates and reinterpretations. The media's role has been pivotal. Sensationalism at times undermines serious inquiry, while investigative journalism and whistleblower testimonies push for transparency and accountability. Social media platforms amplify both credible reports and misinformation, creating a complex information environment. Governments and agencies now face the challenge of managing disclosure responsibly to avoid panic and misinformation, while honoring the public's right to know. Culturally, the presence of these phenomena invites a profound expansion of human identity and potential. It suggests that humanity is not alone in the cosmos, and that knowledge once considered the province of science fiction may soon become reality. This paradigm shift has the potential to unify or divide societies depending on how information is handled and integrated. As humanity stands at this crossroads, the interaction between knowledge, belief, and power will shape the unfolding narrative of the 21st century and